Hello, my name is Irene. I'd like to welcome you to my channel. I talk about my opinions on books, and hopefully I can give you a few good recommendations. Before I get started, I'd just like to ask you to please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Alright, so today I'm going to be doing my July wrap-up. So how I always do these is I talk about my lowest rated books first up to my highest rated. And then at the end, I'll talk about my DNF, and then at the very end, I'll talk about the books that I started in July, but I'm planning on finishing in August. So let's just get started because I kind of have a lot of books to talk about. So first off, we're going to talk about Sinlin Ascends. So Sinlin Ascends is good quality. It is good writing. It is an interesting world. It has interesting characters, and I think a lot of people would love it. I think a lot of people could be really big fans of this book and possibly the series, but for me, it was average. It was 3 stars for me. I wanted so bad to love it, but there was just something that stopped me from loving it. It just wasn't connecting to me. I didn't connect with the characters. I don't think I really liked the main character because at the beginning, basically what happens is he's going to this tower that has all these different situations in it, like systems, governing systems and rules, and like there's one floor that's like a theater, another floor that's like hotels, and like so on. There's just so many different levels, and he's going to visit it with his wife, but immediately he loses his wife, so he panics and he's trying to find his wife. And I really liked the beginning. I was like, this is gonna be a 5-star book. But then as we got farther up the tower, I stopped caring because it started to feel like he was about to cheat on his wife. I don't like cheating. I never like cheating in books, so I didn't really like that. I was kind of feeling like it was going to happen, and so it was a turn off for me. And just all the characters involved, I feel like if there was a limited amount of characters, I think I would have liked that. And it also felt very like episodic, do you know what I mean? Like episodes. It seemed like every level had its own story, and like the things that were happening I didn't really care about. All these adventures and schemes and plans and all these people he met, and then it just went on and on and on and just kept adding on and becoming a bigger plan. And then I felt like for as much time we spent on this main plot, it could have gotten resolved by the end of the book, and it didn't, and it was very unsatisfying. And at the end of the book I was like, there's no way I'm going to read the next one, because the end did not end in a way that made me want to figure out what happened next, if you know what I mean. I gave it 3 stars. It's very average to me, but I definitely would recommend it though, which is kind of odd. I wouldn't recommend it to people who are like exactly like me and like the exact type of books like me, but if you like a fantasy book, I just really like the ideas behind it and all of that. I think that was really good. So, but I give it 3 stars. Next book I am going to be talking about is The Winter Doke. I also gave this one 3 stars. It was very average to me. It was about this girl whose entire family doesn't die, but they end up in this curse, and so she ends up becoming a duke, and she has to navigate this system, and she has no idea how to do it because she was the youngest and she was never supposed to be in this position, so she has to figure it out. She falls kind of into a romance, and that was probably my favorite part of the book. Like, if this book was a romance, then I would have loved it because it was so interesting. The romance, because of the situation there was, and by the way, it is a lesbian romance, so it was really good and interesting. But I didn't like all the politics of the book. I feel like that was the worst aspect of the book, was the politics that were happening, and the most boring. So I didn't enjoy that, and it was the most important part. Therefore, I didn't really like the book that much. It was average, you know. The best part was the relationship, and everything else I didn't really care about. And the idea of this like castle being on ice and like this underworld underneath it was really cool and good, but I didn't enjoy it enough. I didn't care enough. So 3 stars. Next books I'm going to talk about Queen Takes Queen and Queen Takes Knights. Now, this is a very, very, very smutty series. So if you want to read smut and you want to read that type of book, then this might be it for you, but at the same time it's kind of on the line where I feel like even people who like smutty books might not like this, because it does focus on a polyamorous relationship. Basically, this girl becomes queen, this vampire queen, and she takes on all these bloods, which are all these guys, and they become her followers and they basically worship her. And it becomes this huge polyamorous relationship, extremely smutty and kind of gross at some points. I think it was just kind of like fun to listen to, but because I listened to it on audiobook, but I wouldn't recommend it to the majority of people. I was impressed about how much like of the world they developed. It wasn't that great compared to like the fantasies I usually read, but I feel like it was better than I thought it would be. Like the world and like the types of people, like the different queens and kings and the systems, I thought that was really well done. So I gave the first book 4 stars, and then I gave the second book 3 stars. The first book focused on her being in a relationship with 2 guys, and then on the second book they like kind of took it really far and then just like added so many guys, and they all just blended together and I couldn't tell one from the other, and it just wasn't that good anymore. It was kind of average, but the first book was very interesting and I really liked it. Next one is Lightning Thief, which is 4 stars. So this one is about a boy who finds out that he is a half-god and his father is one of the Greek gods. I don't know if saying which Greek god is a spoiler because it's at the beginning, but that's basically what happened, so I won't say it. This one I really enjoyed, especially at the beginning. I think as we got farther in, I was like losing interest a little bit, but I did give it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I read this book back when I was in middle school, and I completely forgot basically what happened, so I reread it now, and now I'm in college, so kind of a different view. I think it would be better for kids in middle school, because it is a middle grade, but I still enjoyed it. I don't think it's giving me exactly what I want coming to Greek gods, because I really find Greek gods fascinating, but it was still very good and entertaining and a very fast read. I got through it quickly, and I will be continuing on with the series. I want to see where it goes and where the story goes, and I hope that it gets better, because it was like a little bit disappointing like at the end, and like the whole quest thing. I don't think I like quests that much. You know, as much as I love fantasy, the quest thing isn't really something I like, but I do find the whole world interesting, so I'm gonna continue on. My next 4 stars is A Dance with Dragons. So I started this in June and then I finished it in July, and I really did enjoy this. I didn't like it as much as the first one. None of the books beat the first one, but this one was good. I liked the characters more that it focused on. It kind of took place immediately after the 3rd book, and like the 4th and the 5th one kind of followed a different set of characters right after the 3rd one, if you understand what I mean. But I have an entire review on this series. If you want to check it out, it's on my channel. But I overall really enjoyed this. I really care about the characters. I like the extra focus on Daenerys, and it was great. It was kind of boring and slow in some parts, but I think that was just kind of how the series was in a lot of places. But overall, I loved it. My next 5-star read, which is probably the best book I read this month, was Pretty Girl 13. This book was amazing. So when I was younger, I was really into books where a young girl gets kidnapped and then like the aftermath of it after she's like released or whatever. So this is basically what this book is. And I remember I put it on my TBR or my Goodreads back then, and I am so happy I did, and I feel like I want to get back into books with kidnappings. I don't know, that really was a thing back then. But anyway, I loved it, and it explored such an interesting psychological aspect. It explored a mental illness, and I don't know if I can say it because it might be a spoiler, but that's basically what the whole book was about. I'll just say it was about like a multi-personality disorder. I don't think that that's a spoiler because it's explored throughout the whole book, and it's very interesting. I'll go into it not knowing much, then you're just shocked around every corner. It wasn't one of those books where you had no idea what was happening until the very end. You kind of had an idea throughout the whole thing, and then you just saw everything wrapped together and figured out. And there was this one twist which I found really interesting. But just exploring this girl's mind and how everything happened and figuring out the past and how it connects to the present and the future, I thought that was great and I loved it. So I really loved this book. I thought it was fantastic. If anyone likes a thriller and you like exploring mental health and that kind of things, I think it is really accurate. Out of other things I've heard and the people I've known, I feel like it was really accurate with that. So I would definitely check out this book if you like that, because it's probably one of my favorite books of the year. It was so good. Last book I'm going to be talking about that I finished this month is Winter. This is a reread. I read this years ago, not that many years ago, but a few years ago, and I loved it just as much the second time. There were some things that I saw differently in this, because the first time there were certain things in a romance that I was like, oh, that's so sweet, and then now I'm kind of like, but you did this, and I'm kind of more thinking about those things instead. So overall, I really enjoyed it still. I love Winter as a character and her romance, and I still love all the romances. This is very romance-centered, and the plot of them figuring this out, this situation out, and this war out was great. These, like, 8 characters. It was fantastic. To give a basic definition of the story, it's a sci-fi where there's a civilization on the moon, and they have the ability to control other people's actions and words. And then there's a cyborg Cinderella. She's based off of that Disney princess, and then there's Little Red Riding Hood and Rapunzel and Snow White and all of those, and they each have their own part of the story, and all the fairy tale elements are heavily mixed in, but is not a direct retelling. It is so different than the actual stories, but you see the elements of each in it, and I find it fun connecting all of it. So that is the last book I finished in July. The last book I am going to be talking about is my DNF, and that is Desperate Measures. Desperate Measures was a retelling of Jasmine and Jafar, and it was going to be their romance. And I only got a fifth of the way through the book, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It was not about to romanticized rape. And I mean, I can read rape in a book, I can, and get through it, but I can't do it if it's supposed to be like smutty and romantic or I can't. So I put it down because I didn't like that at all. I thought it just was going to make the whole relationship gross. I'm sure it was. Maybe there were going to be things that made it better, but I cannot imagine it being romantic in any sort of way. And I did not want to read it. I did not want to read it. So that was my one DNF, and I do not plan to ever go back to it or finish the rest of that series, even though it is smutty romances based off of Disney characters, and I thought that would be great. But if it's gonna do that, I'm not gonna like it. So that's my DNF. Now, what I started reading in July and what I brought into August, first off is The Way of Kings. This I am absolutely loving so far. I love the characters. I am so interested in the world, and I think my main problem now is I don't understand exactly what's going on. So me with a fantasy book, I like going in knowing the basics of the world so I can understand it. I don't want to figure out some things as I go along, you know. I want to watch the story unfold, but I don't want to figure out how the kingdoms work, you know. So basically, like, we're following a slave, Kaladin, and then we're following a girl that is an artist, and she is trying to learn under this woman. Her name is Jasna or something like that. And then the girl is named Shalon. She's the artist. And then we are following the family of a king. That's the part I'm confused about, is I don't understand the importance of these people and how they're connected to Kaladin and Shalon, because those are the characters I'm interested in. And I want to know if they're, what's going on. Like, what's the war about, what are they fighting for, and what side are the main characters involved in. And then we get these interludes where it follows random characters, and I don't really enjoy that. I don't like following random characters that I'm not gonna get attached to, because I don't really know them. I like following characters that I'm attached to and I know their personalities of and that I like. So I just want to know, like, basically what's going on, and I've made the mistake several times so far, and I'm not that far in the book, of looking up what something means on Google and it's spoiling me, which is very disappointing. I just want to know how the world works, but it will not tell me on Google without telling me a huge plot point. So I wish there was some sort of video on YouTube where it basically tells you this is how the world works. So then before you read Stormlight Archive, actually there might be something like that. Anyway, that is where I'm at on that one. And then the next book that I am reading currently that I started in July is Rebecca, which is a classic. It's a gothic classic, and I love gothic thrillers. I think they are so good. It's about this woman who marries this man really soon after meeting him, and then she goes to her house, and she's a nameless protagonist. She has no name. I don't think she ever has a name. And she goes to live with this man, and everyone is kind of obsessed with his dead ex-wife. And I watched the movie based on this. I can't remember exactly how it happens, but I am really enjoying it so far. It is really creepy, and I feel like it's really easy to get into. So that is what I'm currently reading. Alright, so that is how my July reading month went. I think the first few books to talk about was really kind of rough for me. I really want to read more books that are good and not less 3-star books. But overall, I had a good reading month. I feel like I read a big range of books, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. As always, my Goodreads is linked below, and I post every single Thursday. I'll see you next time. Bye.